I'm Wolfgang Schutt. The next sketch is Talkshow in Heaven is part of a series of sketches which I called From Geneva to Heaven via Rome. Two of the pieces were performed at Get Rights last year. The setting is, as the title says, Talkshow in Heaven is in heaven. So imagine the stage here in the cloud, four celestial chairs. What happens in the play, I don't know. You never know what happens in the talk show. Anything can happen.
Well, good evening, angels, and our earthly audience. It's your loose cannons in port here. Let me introduce myself. I started as a tent maker in Damascus, then moved on to become a senior vice president for Rent-A-Kill Human Division. My third career was as a traveling salesman, and because I'm such a great talker, they asked me to moderate this talk show on Celestial Network TV. You can also hear us on DAB double plus in the Geneva area, 88.8 in the beautiful Haute-Savoie, 1,000,000.1 in the outer galaxies, just in case there are any listeners out there.
Needless logical looping. By definition, listeners know the frequencies, otherwise they wouldn't be listening.
Okay, genius, tell us who you are.
I'm St. Bill, also known as William Henry Gates III. But that doesn't mean I'm a copy of the first and second. They were only prototypes, research models. After cutting and pasting some of the basic genes from versions 1 and 2, they got version 3 right.
Aren't you the saint that Jean-Paul III canonized when he was over 100 years old and didn't know what he was doing?
Nasty. In fact, it was because I provided the Vatican with free licenses for Word.
The word of prophecy?
No, mine, Word 2000. Remember the free gift that the Vatican, that the UN refused?
Understandable. They needed more the word of prophecy. And you are?
I'm Napoleon. The first, the only, l'original. In my case, they got it right the first time. And what was your term? Prototypes.
But there was a third Napoleon.
Quelle insulte, a mere proxy.
And what were you in your days?
Well, let's just say I was an explorer.
Hit escape, that name is copyrighted.
Oh, not when I lived. I should have copyrighted it.
Napoleon, why didn't they make you a saint?
I am a saint. At least in the eyes of the French. Remember, no Austrian, Frenchman, or German who tried to unite Europe as I did, as being canonized. Hitler, Charles de Gaulle, Angela Merkel. No, I'd be big Italian.
But Corsica...
It's French.
Be careful, I think we have a real Italian here. You are...
Io sono Leonardo da...
Leonardo DiCaprio?
Serio, sono Leonardo da Vinci. And I don't want to be associated with that actor. I always manage to stay above water. That he got drowned twice on that big boat. Now, if I had designed it, and he was on the beach, financially speaking.
So what were you then?
Oh, I know, it's very long to tell you, but I was a painter, a cartoonist, a draftsman, a sculptor, an architect, an engineer, a military advisor, an inventor.
Your LinkedIn profile would be pages long. And you sound like Faust. You name it and he's done it. I was only a computer programmer and entrepreneur, and look what I achieved. Microsoft products in every home and in every product. The pocket. How many homes have a Mona Lisa?
At least my Mona Lisa is original. I painted it myself, not a copy like your MS-DOS what you bought, not a repaint like Windows from Macintosh.
Gentlemen, please stop quarreling. Funnily enough, I invited Isaac Newton onto this panel, but Bill refused to sit at the same table with anybody who had anything to do with apples.
And d'accord with the Bill. Not that I dislike the English in principle, but he has no place in this illustrious round. What nonsense, assuming that everything is attracted to the earth. That's not right. Look how David's painting of me on a horse, flying above everything, defies his soi-disant law of gravity.
Gentlemen, okay, now let's please talk about your backgrounds. You all seem to have had some problems with your education. Bill, you dropped out of university.
Harvard, Yale, etc. These dead leaves of, what was it?
Ivy League, not Leeds. And Napoleon, you did graduate from the military academy, but only 42nd in a class of 58.
Voila! Education alone doesn't make a genius.
You're right. And you are all geniuses. I'm sure you'll all agree with me on that, if for nothing else. Leonardo, who was your teacher?
Myself.
Who could wish for a better one? Now, folks are always intrigued about the earthly habits of the famous. For example, food. What is your favorite food, Bill?
Fast food, it's my lifestyle.
And Napoleon, beef Wellington, perhaps?
Chicken marengo.
And yours, Leonardo?
For the Last Supper.
Very nouvelle cuisine. Just the bread and wine.
Now, for us divines, the basic motto is seeing is believing. Just ask my colleague Thomas about that. What about your motto, Leonardo?
Seeing is perceiving.
Perceiving is programming.
Programming is a strategic planning.
Planning is design.
Designing is programming.
Programming is... Come on, you programmers always get us into a loop. That's why your computers always get blocked.
Gentlemen, quarreling again, but okay, now a change of pace. Writing. You must know that I loved writing myself. I wrote long emails, letters to the Corinthians, the Galatians, the Colossians, the Romans, among others. Get a full list from Wikipedia. They became so popular that every hotel now has a copy in the drawers of their bedside tables. What about you as writers?
My notebooks contain thousands of pages, and they are still studied at universities today.
My programs contain millions of lines of coding and are still being used today.
I am not a writer, apart from a few essays I wrote. But hundreds of people have written about me, and they are still writing about me today.
Millions of pages have been also written about me, mainly by Justice Departments.
Guillaume, mon cher, if you have trouble with the law, rewrite it, as I did.
I like that idea. The Gates Code. But the Napoleonic Code was full of paradoxes. For instance, you always liked women so much, but only granted them limited legal rights. France suffered from that for centuries. Even Monsieur Holland, who likes women as much as you, hasn't been able to change that situation. I used a different strategy. If I had legal problems with the company, I simply bought it.
Yes, you even wanted to buy the US government. You did have the money.
Yes, but they didn't want to move from Washington, D.C. to Washington State.
And risk of war.
Don't talk about war. None of you has any idea what war is really all about.
Oh, ma non è vero! I was a military architect in the reign of Cesare Borgia.
Wasn't he the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander?
Oh, bastardo! I know what you are hinting at, that I am also illegitimate. But at least I was not a womanizer like you, Desiree, Josephine, Maria Veneska, Marie-Louise, Ségolène Royal.
Sorry, Royal, yes, but wrong century. And it's enough. We don't want to be here all night. What do you expect? I took after my father. He married a beautiful girl of 14 when he was only 18.
My God, they were young. Is that why you turned out so small?
Well, we seem to have our difference here. What do you see as your greatest defeat?
First, being beaten by a one-eyed Englishman who could only swim round in circles. And then to see that Europe I tried to unite, completely dismantled. Look at me,
Just like Microsoft.
You must have foreseen that when you called your company Microsoft instead of Macrosoft. And Leonardo, your greatest defeat?
Allora, that the world has to go to Francia to see my original.
But France is the world.
Don't interrupt me. I want to add that the 800 by 600 pixel copy of my Mona Lisa on a bill's internet is not worth looking at.
Strike at the Paris airports and long queues at the Louvre, or quick access through Google. Each one has its disadvantages and advantages. What I like about you, Leonardo, is your versatility. You were a pioneer in drawing cartoons. Would have done well in Charlie Hebdo today.
Oh yes, a depiction of God who resembles Leonardo on the cover page. Underneath, just the deer.
You shouldn't criticize Napoleone. Look what France has come to, using a Playboy centerfold as a model for their Mariana.
But she was beautiful. And Corsican. If you had designed Marianne, she would have ended up being half-finished.
Complete with silly smirk.
Sapere vedere, knowing how to see, was a great theme of my studies.
I agree with you there. Exactly why I created Windows for us all as a portal to behold the world.
But you only see a 17-inch copy of the world.
At least it gives a clear view of the world. It doesn't matter where you stand. Your Last Supper is all blurred and mold-ridden. So much that Dan Brown even saw one of the apostles to be Mary Magdalene. And you can't update it. My Windows is updated every year. And you know, I could have made your Last Supper with the paintbrush layer of my Windows.
Cornuto! My works of genius were created to please and to help, and not to confuse and create even more paradoxes. For instance, why do you have to click on the start icon to stop a Windows?
Now that you mentioned stop, and although eternity really flies when you're enjoying yourselves, I have to wrap up the show. Let us keep in touch through Facebook.
Oh no, I don't want to see pictures of you sitting on the toilet.
One last question. The Holy Trinity Unlimited hasn't introduced reincarnation yet. This project is budgeted for the years 3000 to 3500. Nevertheless, let's assume you all went back to Earth. Who would you like to go back as? Bill.
As Leonardo.
Naturalmente.
Leonardo.
As Edward Snowden. He provided even more information than I did.
Finally, Napoleon.
As a suicide de Beaumer. Then I come back here and have over 40 virgins.
Thank you all for this illuminating discussion. At our next talk show in a celestial week, my guest will be three women who were big in their time. Margaret Thatcher, and Pamela Anderson, and Cleopatra.
What was big about Cleopatra?
Her appetite.
St. Paul, if you went back to Earth, who would you like to be?
Paul McCartney. I've had harp and trumpet music up to my halo.